What's up, guys? On this episode, we're going to be addressing how to stop possessive behavior, resource guarding. We are going to address how to stop excessive barking, how to wear out a high-energy dog when it's too hot or too cold outside, how to stop humping, and how young is too young before starting remote collar training with your dog. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Blake Rodriguez with Dream Come True K9, and this is episode, is it 7?
I believe it's 7.
It is episode 7 of Dog Behavior Question Tuesday, which technically we're doing on Wednesday. It was my 3-year wedding anniversary. If you guys follow the Instagram page, you saw that I sacrificed for you. I went to dinner so that my wife didn't kill me, and as a result, I'm here today to give you this wealth of information. So the first question is going to be coming from High Five for K9's. Thanks so much, Jen Kingston, for following us. Hey, Blake, thank you so much for these great, informative, and inspiring videos. What are some things we can do to stop possessive, protective tendencies in a dog, especially tendencies such as guarding a specific person or guarding water? I have a dog walking and boarding business and recently noticed dogs who have visited the dog park with their owners are showing resource guarding with water toward other dogs. It's a bit more rare than guarding food, question mark. Thank you so much for doing these vids, Jen Kingston. Okay, overall, first thing I'm gonna say, there are a lot of different ways to address protocol for resource guarding and possessive behavior. Some of the things we have to look at is the dog guarding or being resource guarding or possessive toward just dogs or toward just human? Because both of them are very dangerous protocols to kind of, or dangerous things to kind of address. But some of the techniques that we tend to do more is based on that, right? So the first thing I'm gonna go ahead and say is you want to work on having a solid recall. Specifically not a recall where a dog is waiting for a sit for a piece of cheese where you tell them stay, 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 and you back up and then you say here. We're talking the type of recall when a dog is in the middle of doing something and you can call your dog off. So one of the easiest ways to do that is to get really, really good with leash pressure on regular everyday situations, on the walk, on sending your dog to place, doing all of that. Then what you're basically doing is you're teaching the concept of leash pressure when a dog, before the possessive stuff kicks in. You're teaching leash pressure when a dog is doing something over there, they feel the leash, know how to come toward it, pressure shuts off. That's the basic to teaching any type of pressure along with spatial pressure and stuff like that. What you're doing next is you're transferring to a remote collar, not to shock dogs into compliance, but to just basically get with the times, new age, instead of having to hook up an auxiliary cord to your dog, which is basically in order to play music from this phone to my speakers, instead of having to have a long line and a leash attached to your dog, you can transfer what they've learned with leash pressure to remote collar pressure, right? And just like a leash, you can determine what volume or what level is appropriate or what you need to use. Now, if you've done really solid work, your volume and your levels are very, very low. It's just whispering to the dog saying, hey, this is what you do. So with the remote collar stuff, when the dog knows leash pressure and you found the dog's appropriate level, you're just pairing that remote collar off of this and you're teaching recall, right? So once a dog knows recall, you're having them work toward the water bowl or drink water, or when they're working for their food and they're eating their meals, have them eating their meals, and you start working on recall, calling them off of that. If you're gonna call a dog off of food, it makes sense to have something of higher value to reward when the dog gets to you. And this is a very basic, non-confrontational way. When we know a dog guards, before that happens, we can actually have recall where I say it and you do it, rather than my dog's recall is good except when they want to guard. It's like now I can raise volumes if I need to, just like I can say, hey, Andrew, I need you here. Hey, Andrew, I need you here, right? And I can go ahead and I can do that. So you want to make sure before you raise levels, what you're asking is understood and very, very clear. So that's one thing. You're working on that. What we're doing with some of these guys is like food will be on a bowl here, and before they actually get to the food bowl, we're actually working on, because they do have possessive behaviors, working on the bowl being over there and just very wide U-turns with remote collar and leash pressure taps. So it sort of looks like this, actually. We're gonna go ahead and do this right now. I'm gonna put this here. I know I don't have a whole lot of space, but I do wanna show you some stuff. So the first thing I actually wanna show you before I even bust the food out is just, nope. So here's our follow through. Come here, place. Good, down. So these dogs are here for their board and train program, down. And they were fighting with each other, fighting over, you know, water bottles, a bunch of nonsense stuff, right? So before I even get to the food, I want to show you where their recall is in general, right? So this is actually pretty cool because we're training dogs and we are answering questions at the same time, right? So now that I know she was the antsy one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and call the other dog that she lives with. And what we're doing is we're basically addressing recall, looking for eye contact, which is something we teach separately, sending the dog to place. Then that dog is staying while I'm working with another one, just so you can see where they are. And then from there, I'll show you the technique for the beginning stages of recall, right? So if I'm working with him, Vicente, here, good boy. Right there, nice eye contact. Very nice, buddy. Yes, oh, so good. Vicente. Place, good. Down. Very nice, bud. And this is all communication, all very, very communication, which I've transferred my leash pressure now to the remote to help proof it. So this isn't a forever tool, but this is a step in the right direction where I no longer have that leash. And we've gone from starting them for every command that they do. We've been rewarding with their food, not with treats. Now we're at a point where they get their food at the end so that they're learning, and they might get a little bit of something here and there just to kind of keep that expectancy of, I don't know when I'm going to get it, but I know that I'm working toward it. So they're actually earning their food rather than me bringing out food just to get good behavior. I reward good behavior. I don't bring out food in order to get good behavior, right? So now we're weaning them off of the food and weaning them off of this down the road, but now I have my insurance policy. When the dog needs more information, I don't want to be like, oh, shoot, you know, I wish I had a leash on that dog. I know that I have that, right? So we're using it for everything because we're not shocking dogs into compliance. They're just feeling a sensation. If you ever felt the levels that we use, it's no different than you and I being at a bar together and I say, hey, we have to go. So I would tap you on the shoulder, right? I'm not going to wave a cookie in your face and say, hey, I need your attention. Oh, I got your attention. Come on, we got to go. I'm just going to tap you on the shoulder. Hey, we have to get out of here, right? So now that I have that, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with this girl. Julieta, here. Good girl. So good. And she's still on a leash because this is not perfect yet. Good girl. Yes. Good girl. This is not perfect yet. Julieta, place. Good. Down. So I want her to know that whenever I'm using this shuts off the sensation for something that you're doing specifically. And if I need help, I go back to what she understands a little bit better. He's at a point where he's a little bit farther along or further along, so that's why we still have the leash. But now to get to the point where we're talking about food, and food is here, I'll show you the basics of the recall that we're trying to teach, right? So now this is a little bit more advanced, but it can start this way. So if she's in my left hand, I'm likely going to be making right turns, wide right U-turns, right? So it'll start like this. We'll be walking. She kind of smells right here. Julieta, here. Good girl, so good. And instead of here, because it's not a very specific command right here, I'm going to use the word let's go, but it's basically just teaching her how to smell that and come off of that, because before she would smell it, she would beeline it, and she's going to scarf it. And if any dog gets in her way or her brother gets in her way, that's a fight, right? So I need to know that I have this recall and I have this leash right here. Julieta, here. Good girl. And I can use the leash if I need to. Sit. Good. That way, if I do practice raising up on this, I know that I can help to teach her what to do. And the goal is, I should have said let's go again. Let's go. Julieta, let's go. good girl, and I didn't use any leash, right? So we want things like this to be at a fairly good place, a fairly good point. And then when I get to the point where, let's say I'm working her, come on, yes, she's eating, Julieta, here? And that's not perfect by any means, right? So that's kind of where we are, not her trying to get that, but actually trying to get her to a point where she knows how to be called off, and then I would give her something of higher value. I'm not gonna do that enough. Nope, down. I'm not gonna do that so much because I don't have anything else to give her, but essentially that's what we're looking at. Now, another thing that we can do is you start to teach, just like I get solid with recall, I'm also gonna get solid with spatial pressure outs. So an out command could be a dog is eating, all of a sudden I lift up the bowl and I say out, or what you're doing is instead of using away pressure, follow me pressure, where the dog is coming towards you, I'm teaching basically how to step in, right, and the pressure is coming off. Now, this is assuming that the dog is not like really aggressive toward you, because then you have to really be careful with that. This isn't an exact how-to because variables can really change. A safer way to do that, and we actually have had videos on this before, is if you have a partner or a friend or somebody who's over here at the other end of the leash, let's go ahead and just assume that the food bowl, this is the food bowl, is here, and she's going ahead and she's eating that. Because she knows leash pressure can be held by somebody this way while I come in and I start to teach the word out, right? So basically as she's on there, the leash pressure is going that way, which is the same thing as recall, but she's just learning to be mindful of our pressure. So let's say it's going this way and I say out, and I do something like this and pressure comes off. Basically you're trying to teach that command without having to use leash, and your spatial pressure is enough. No different than we would, come here girl, no different than we would the place command, come here girl, place, where if she's on place and she starts to kind of come off, let's say like this, come here, nope, I can spatial pressure, good girl, I can spatial pressure her with remote pressure back into that. I'm not sure if you got that. I know I'm kind of just winging it here. Were you able to get that? Yeah. Okay, all right, sorry. But basically we're teaching that. So the dog should have a concept of understanding place, because now everything's progressive, right? I'm teaching that dog when the dog is coming off, Soko. Nope. I can step the dog, and that's naked. There's no remote collar on that dog, right? So I can spatial pressure, good. He understands my spatial pressure eases off. So you're looking at different types of pressure. There's remote collar pressure, there's leash pressure, there's spatial pressure, and getting a dog to respond to it appropriately, right? Now going into assuming that it's toward other dogs, get your recall solid, get your dog listening and responding to your spatial pressure. Now you're relevant where you have a say, or the owners get to the point where they're relevant, where they have a say in these situations. Now we're gonna go into if the dog, actually we should be doing that in general. That's for human stuff as well, but it's very dangerous because you wanna do that with a professional. Now if we're talking about dogs, same concept, same fundamentals. We want to get that kind of where we need to be. We also, nope, down. We also want to work on impulse control in general, away from food, just in general, right? So right now, I don't know if you guys are able to see, she just got to us, like literally our first full day with her was yesterday. She is dog aggressive. So if you follow our Facebook page and our Instagram page, you're gonna see a picture or a video of her, of how she was acting on the first date, going after. She just recently sent the dog to the ER, and she's doing fantastic. So right now, like her foundation level, after going for a walk, after learning leash pressure, she's holding a place, learning how to hang out while I'm working other dogs around food and doing all these things, which is fantastic. And she's learning how to do that. Then we take that foundation of impulse control and we start to teach her first the ability to do it at a greater proximity. Now if we are talking about possessive behavior toward other dogs, you can do something that other trainers will call feed the chickens. So basically the name comes from, this is also kind of dangerous. You have to be aware of how you're doing this. This isn't just for anybody to do. You really should be be with a professional to do this. But feeding the chickens, you ever see how they feed it? They take the feed and they just throw it into the field. Now, the reason dogs can be possessive and actually resource guard is because usually, I call it inmate mentality. The food bowl can be here and they can basically just hover over this, right? So as they're eating anybody that's coming in, whether it's a human hand or it's a dog, they can kind of give that side, like, go ahead, try and take this and see what happens. So what Feed the Chickens does is it actually spreads out the thing that they're trying to guard, and it makes it very, very difficult to guard one piece of kibble when there's so many. So for me, there's a couple things that I look for when I'm doing these exercises, and I have some video that I've taken that I just never posted, tons of video, but as that's spread out, you get dogs you can trust that can split some of that food, and you have that dog on a leash and a remote collar already in an advanced level, right? Or at an advanced level, and what you're doing is you're letting them eat. If they're kind of eating calmly and they're a resource guarder, their go-to behavior when a dog gets close or when they're trying to race to get every kibble before the other dog is, that's what I want to change. I want to change, I want to change that, that rude, I gotta get it before everybody else behavior. So that's when I work on a recall or a sharp pop, and I call the dog out of it to the point where I startle them. And when I'm talking startle, I mean, I want a dog to question what they should be doing the next time they go in there, right? So that might mean if we have this dog that's acting like a jerk, that's dangerous, being dangerous, sending dogs to the ER, what I want to do with them is I don't want them to go in there thinking they know how to handle the situation. I want them to get startled by me and basically be like, oh, shoot, okay, that's different. That's how I handle it. You're telling me no. And if they're nervous initially of, I don't know what I'm supposed to do because that's what I do, and now you're telling me I can't do it, what should I be doing? Exactly what I want. I want the dog to say, what should I be doing, or ask, what should I be doing? And that's the problem when you get these dogs. They don't ask, they're confident in being jerks, and they just go for it, right? So we need a dog to second guess. We need a dog to have that instinct and go, oh, you know what? This guy said I couldn't do that. Shh. This guy said I couldn't do that. Maybe I should do something else. And if they go in there and they're nervous, they might miss that next meal. That's okay. When they come back very, very soft. Now I start to advocate for them. I make sure the other dogs around aren't being rude. They're dogs that I can trust, and that dog starts eating softly, and any type of pressure that they get from another dog, I'm ready to correct if they want to go back to habit. Usually you have to do this maybe at max I've ever had to do it is 3 times. Usually after the first one, maybe one more, and then what you'll start to see is a dog that when that pressure or that insecurity comes, their normal go-to, which would be to guard, ends up saying, oh, I know I can't do that. I'm a little bit nervous. Let me do this instead. And then I reward the bejesus out of it. Oh, follow me here because I got to place here again. Nope, place. Good girl. Down. Come on. Good job. You're doing good. You're doing good. So now I have a dog that's saying, oh, check it out. I'm nervous. That's coming. Oh, I don't want to do that. Maybe let me just escape. And then no correction happens, nothing bad happens. She gets rewarded, gets to go back in, and goes, holy cow, I didn't realize that was an option. So you start to cultivate healthier choices and healthier habits. That's one method. There's a lot of things I can go into for talking about this, but the first thing I'm gonna go ahead and say is a dog's communication needs to be better. There needs to be more structure in the household. There needs to be more place, more impulse control stuff, all of that in order to get to this point and actually be successful. You can't rush into that. A dog that's acting like that is a dog that's been allowed to do that, right? So we need to get rid of that rude jerk behavior and start to teach a more polite, respectful guest. Like if I come to your place, I'm gonna say, hey, where would you like me to sit? Or I'm a little thirsty. I'm not gonna open up your fridge and do what I want. I'm not going to just sit on your bed, all of those things. Andrew's telling me I gotta wrap up that question. So that I know that's probably the most detailed question we've gone ahead and had, but that answers that. Next question. Hi Blake, thank you for, this is from the Hyperpup. Thank you for this Q&A that you do. It's extremely informative and helpful. I also do board and train, and I recently have been asked to take on a young 3-month-old boxer. He has no serious issues, but his family wants him remote collar trained, which I'm fairly skilled at doing. My concern is how young is too young. What is the youngest age which you take on board and train clients? Thanks for your answer, Armando. Great question, Mondo. You know, it's pretty interesting. I think, and I'm going to sum this up rather quickly because I think it's kind of quick to do, is it all depends on how you're introducing the remote collar and what you're doing it for. Now, a lot of people have this theory, and I think that the reason why the remote collar has such a bad reputation is because it's used as the tool to fix what you haven't been able to do, basically to tell a dog what not to do. But if you're very positive in teaching the dog, and this time when I say positive, I mean in a good way. If you're very positive, not adding something, and teaching the dog during feeding time, the same way they would feel pressure, boom, this is how you come for your food, this is how you use your markers and everything like that. 3 months is a pretty good age. I like to say between 4 months, 4 to 5 months, because a dog is at a good point where I'm gonna do a board and train. But for a puppy, make sure even before you're going into the remote collar, everything is positive reinforcement based, right? You want a dog working for their food, just getting into the lifestyle of earning. That way you can transfer that into, see, she has her, I don't know if you guys are picking that up, but a little bit of anxious. Oh, I got a taste of that food and I want it, so she's waiting. But basically, getting them, you're working on remote collar stuff even if you haven't introduced the remote collar yet. All the foundation for the markers and everything. And then 3 to 5 months, somewhere in that period, I'd say 3 to 4. 4 months is a good age. That's where I like to kind of start them out. I don't really like to start them out earlier because that's a beautiful opportunity to keep it very clean and just keep it like positive only until you start to move toward more real world situations where you still continue to use positive reinforcement, but you don't limit it to only. Right now you start making it more real world, setting your dog up for the real world. So hopefully that helps. Let's see where else we are. Dizzy in the city. How do I keep a high energy dog worn out when it's too hot to run? Great question. One of the things that we're doing here, perfect example, even if you're in an apartment. Now this is a little bit of a risk here. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to call this guy without the leash, even though the food is there, but working them mentally. Like, can you zoom in? Can you see the drool? He knows it's feeding time, right? He also knows that's not his. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and give him a recall really quickly. Vicente, here. Good boy. Right here. Up into this. Very nice, buddy. Place. Nope. Good. That information, super valuable. This is why I don't understand why people don't tell their dogs no. Nope is a choice. Stop doing what you are about to do. Go back to doing what you were doing. The dog goes, oh, wrong thing? Awesome, thanks for letting me know. So I gave him more information. Very nice. Down. Good. And this is all for when food is over there, right? Vicente, here. Place. Good. Down. Very nice, buddy. He's gonna get his food, right? Now what I'm also gonna do, this dog, you see this right here? That's the sign of a dog that's ready to kind of do a little more damage, so that's what I want to interrupt. Nope. So if I come over here, I grab this leash, and I just change her down. What's super important there is I want to keep her soft. I don't want this, because that's the challenge of you have something I want, I'm going to charge and I'm going to attack you. I have to interrupt that. I'm not waiting for the problem to happen. I'm catching it before it happens, right? So that dog is eating that. I'm gonna go ahead and call this girl really quickly. Julieta, here. Good girl. Sit. Good. Down. Good girl. Nope. Let's go. Julieta, please. Good girl. Down. Now, I think that's enough. I'm gonna give her food and I'm gonna go right into answering your guys' questions. Yes. You can see she went out. Now you guys can actually hear me. I did say yes, but it's super low. That camera wouldn't have been able to pick up that audio. This mic did. So doing things like this, working a dog for their markers, this is the last like detailed question we're gonna go ahead and get into, but I do wanna show you guys this, right? So, yo, get in on this, dude, like for a second. You don't have a mic? All right, so basically challenging your dog to do something they don't already know, right? So if your dog knows the markers already, this is pretty valuable, right? So Soko, come here. Good yes and no for the markers that we use, right? He knows if I tell him to sit, good. I can go ahead and feed on good. If I tell him, Soko, yes, this is how he gets rewarded for that. If we're working on like a heel command and I'm using this food, Soko, sit, good. Close, good. Eye contact, yes. I can go ahead and I can manipulate him here. He knows how to go through, Soko, through, good, through. Yes, give him a little bit of this. And now what we can start to teach is something new, right? So you challenge the brain. So go close, close, good. Nope, I want him looking at me, not the food. Good, weave. Now he's going through the legs backwards. Good, weave, good, weave. Yes, right? Back. These are all opportunity, right? This is not a setback. This is exactly why I have her up here. Because this is what we want, real world stuff. We're challenging her. She's indoors. It is hot outside, right? These bulldogs can't last out there. We went on a walk around the block. Now we challenge them this way. This girl's getting challenged also. Right? So sometimes you run into the problem when you have a high energy dog. You over-exercise the dog. You overrun the dog. And it's just, before you know it, you create an anxiety monster, a dog that doesn't get tired, and they get out 30 hours a day, and now this dog has no, they just don't know how to settle. So you want to definitely get your dog physical exercise, but you want to teach him how to chill, right? So hopefully that helps. You get those markers really, really good. Soko, down. Get those markers really solid, and then, hey, down. And then, here. What you can do is you can start teaching eye contact exercises, not when I'm holding a cookie to my face, but I'm doing something like this. Good. Good means keep doing what you're doing, so he knows, hold it. That's how he's going to, nope. Good. That's how he's going to get his YES. Yes. All right. So these are some things that you can work on. Soko, please. Good. Let's see where else we are. I'm going to go ahead and down these dogs, pick this up. Nope. Next question from Urban Pups. Hey, first off, Urban Pups, I just want to go ahead and say that I really appreciate all the love recently on Instagram. I do notice that. Really appreciate it. Vicente, down. Good. Julieta, down. Good girl. So this question is from you. Hey, why exactly did my dog start humping me when I let her sleep in the bedroom for just over a week? Thank you. First off, to keep it very blunt, and I'm not even trying to be funny, the reason that your dog started humping you is because you allowed it, right? Usually when dogs are humping, they're getting too energetic, too high strung, and they're just allowed to do too much. So the problem, your dog can sleep in your bedroom, no problem. In your actual bed when your dog is displaying those things, I would address that. You definitely have to do more impulse control, more duration stuff, teach your dog to chill out a little bit more, and take more direction from you. The dog that just thinks they can do that is the very good looking lady that I meet that walks in here, and immediately I go ahead and I say, yeah, I'm a dog trainer, and I just put my arm around her, right? There has to be a level of respect. A dog that's just acting this way too much, they're probably a little too high strung, and you need to tone that down a little bit. There are a couple different variables based on what's going on, but I would need to know more. If your dog is allowed to hump in other situations, that needs a correction. First off, communication has to be clearer, so a correction can be clear, and it has to be learned that you're not just saying, no, don't do this right now, you're saying don't do this, period, right? So that correction has to be something that is actually meaningful to the dog. Liz Henderson, L. Hender 21, how do I get my dogs to stop barking excessively inside the apartment? That's another anxiety impulse thing. You're not doing place with your dog. You gotta place your dogs more. You gotta do duration exercise. They gotta learn how to be holding this, right? The barking is secondary. What you need to catch is the attention. If a dog is just chilling out and they hear something in the hallway and they're doing this, right now, that might come followed by a bark quickly, but initially it was just this. On the walk, it was just this, and then it started to build. You need to, yeah, basically thank you. Basically exactly like how I addressed her, it starts with this. And as I let that anxiety and that concern build, it ends up overflowing into a problem. Could be aggression, could be barking, Could be just the stress of the anxiety from concerning that leads into other things. You need to teach your dogs how to not stress. So what you need, nature's Xanax, which is basically structure. Structure, duration exercises, all of that. You want your dogs to be like a Jamaican on weed. No worries, man. And I'm serious about that. I tell my clients this all the time, right? They need to learn how to chill. Because if they don't, you're limited on what you can and can't do with your dogs, right? More foundation stuff. More foundation stuff. That's very important. In order to get to tackling problems, we need to have a foundation of communication that we can use, and these communications are different tools that we use through everyday real world situations, not just when it's training time. Forget training time. Your life, the life that the dogs live, that is training time. That's how they get good. That's why practice makes perfect, right? And that answers all the questions for today. Thanks, good stuff, man. Sorry that we're a day late. I will see you guys next week.